I'm very excited to be here today, not just because I can share this message, but because I think we'll see a lot of cultural pioneering in the discussions, as Chris mentioned. But to be honest, I'm most excited about the reception. I mean, I know we should probably be focused on this, but I just can't help it because we have such a great menu today. I'm actually just going to walk through that. I know it's probably not the best use of the time, but we have tempura battered mealworms on the list. They're crunchy, very tasty, a great aftertaste. You'll love them, I know. We have fried bamboo caterpillars, which are actually, you'll be glad to know, are organic and fair trade, and they're also very, very tasty. And perhaps my favorite are the roasted grasshoppers. These are a Oaxaca delicacy, chili powder roasted with a little bit of lemon. They're great. In fact, I got to say, I can't wait until the reception. Julie and Julia, would you mind passing these around? Help yourself. If you have any food allergies, be cautious. Shellfish, nuts, you might not want to try it. But if not, help yourself. They're excellent, a nice light chili flavor to them. If you are a vegetarian, you might have to reflect on whether this counts. But please help yourself. And if you don't want to, I understand completely, because it is completely not in our culture to eat bugs. It's simply not natural. Even though it is a healthy and actually quite sustainable food source. It is low on the food chain, and it is a great source of protein. So you don't have to worry. You can try the roasted grasshoppers. The other menu items that I mentioned are not actually at the reception. Instead, we have a perfectly normal food for our culture to be served, and that is coagulated, mold-infused liquid sustenance of baby cows. In other words, cheese. So you'll be able to enjoy that thing that you often find quite normal to eat, and probably enjoy it quite a lot. So what am I on about here? Well, what was all that about? I wanted to make it clear that culture, as Chris has already noted, culture shapes our reality. It shapes what we understand as normal, what we see as natural, and what is a taboo. Eating bugs, for most of us, is a taboo. We just don't do it. But yet, in other cultures, it is taboo to eat beef or pig or shellfish. It really depends on the cultural environment that you grow up in. And that is at the heart of this volume. Culture, to give a more technical definition, is the sum of all social processes that make the artificial or the human-constructed seem natural. In other words, everything around us, the fact that we wear clothes, the fact that I'm here because I'm in front of a podium, I have your attention, all of these things are culturally bounded ideas driven by social processes that shape our reality. And by social processes, I mean everything. This lecture, your conversations, the lessons that your teachers gave you, the guidance that your parents gave you, the updates on Facebook that you read, the radio programs, the TV shows, the advertisements, all of this creates a reality around you. It shapes what you see as normal. And while that is just how it is, we all live in a cultural reality, unfortunately, over the past 200 years, and particularly over the last 50 years, cultures have made it increasingly natural to define ourselves, our well-being, our success, our status, primarily through our consumption patterns. So that now, even if we don't self-define as consumers, we live as consumers. By living in a consumer culture, it's become natural to expect to live in large homes, to travel to faraway places. It's an entitlement to fly, or at least it's just normal to have lots of gadgets and appliances, to own a car or two. This is all normal and natural. One of the the articles that was produced from the press coverage was a Guardian article with an inaccurate title about the U.S. cult of greed is destroying the environment. I wrote to the reporter afterwards, making it clear that the greed is actually, it barely comes up in the book. In fact, I searched for it, and of the 8 times the program found greed, most of the times were in the form of agreed, as in the past tense of agree. This is not about greed. It's about a cultural system that has made us see it as quite natural to live as consumers, so that it's natural to eat highly processed foods filled with fat and things that actually make us sick and unhealthy. It's natural for us to identify hundreds of brand logos and symbols, while few of us can identify plants or animals, so that even though we depend on those very plants and animals, they're harder to recognize. I gave you very little time, but I bet you probably couldn't figure out most of those plants, as I couldn't have. Let me give you an example. How many? Just raise your hand. How many people recognize this plant? Okay, a couple. I'll give you a big clue. How about now? How many of you recognize this? And how about now? Everyone recognize that? Exactly. Our very language is being shifted by our consumer culture. And while that might not be a big deal, you can say, well, all culture shapes our reality, so always are we going to be mediated from reality. But this is different, and it's different because our excessive consumption patterns, which are driven by this culture, are undermining the very ecosystems that we depend on. It's by over-consuming, we are undermining Earth's systems, which will then undermine our ability to thrive in the future. And just giving you quick examples, I mean, we all know the statistics of the ecological footprint. We're using 1.3 Earths per year, even though we only have one. Of course, the average American is producing 20 tons of emissions. And the shocking one that I learned this year is that every day the American lifestyle is responsible for the extraction of 88 kilograms of resources. That's more than most of us weigh every day that our lifestyle generates in material extraction. So as Chris already noted, and I'm glad so I can shorten this piece, is that policy changes, technology upgrades, while super important, won't get us to where we need to be unless we change our cultures so that consuming at this level is no longer seen as natural, but seen as taboo. And that is at the heart of State of the World 2010. For humanity to thrive long into the future, we are going to have to reorient cultures away from consumerism and towards to sustainability. Or in easier terms, we have to transform our cultures so that it becomes natural to live sustainably, as it does, as living today as a consumer is. So that instead of me pulling out my new BlackBerry or iPhone and everyone saying, oh, wow, that's great, cool, have you downloaded this app, that app? Instead, people will say, wow, is that a 10-year-old cell phone? That's so awesome. How can you, great, how'd you keep it going for that long? And the coolest person on the block will not be the guy with the Corvette, but the one who doesn't have a car at all. Wow, you live a walkable lifestyle? That's fantastic. Cultural norms will have to shift so that sustainability becomes easy. It becomes natural to do.